Here we have something that's very common on old upholstery. You can see this edging has been put on here. Has got big faded spots in it. Doesn't look very good anymore. Now the rest of the upholstery is sort of a velour, not really, but you can see it does, by moving it different ways, give you a different sort of shading. But that sort of orangey brown is not too bad, but this brown edging is terrible. Question is, how do you fix this without tearing the whole thing apart and replacing it? And what this is a cushion from the front seat of my 1946 Blanca 14-3, otherwise known as a Cruisair. But it doesn't matter if it's an airplane seat. It could be an old ottoman, footrest, could be an old piano seat, could be a couch somebody gave you, could be something like a dining room set. And you come to the same conclusion that you've got something faded or worn, or you just don't like the color and you want to change it. In this video, we're going to show you the step-by-step process for fixing this edging, which in essence, we're going to paint the fabric, and we're going to show you the way to make it work so you don't end up with something hard and gritty. Instead, it'll be soft when you're done, and that's what the video is about. Stay tuned. Now you could break out the shop vac for your first step, because the first step is to vacuum your piece that you're planning to paint. Here we have the style of brush that you'll find on a house vacuum. This type of brush on a house vacuum and the suction it'll have will work better than a plastic brush on a shop vac to do your vacuuming. There's the vacuum we maintain in the garage, an old house vacuum that works for this process. You have your fabric vacuum, you're going to have to consider how to clean it. There we have lacquer thinner. Now lacquer thinner will work on a number of fabrics, but absolutely positively test it on a spot that's inconspicuous, because it won't work with everything. So that's one possible way to clean it. Another possible way to clean it is to use Prep All, as we've shown you in other videos. This is a completely different chemical, and it can work to clean the fabric too. But again, test it on an inconspicuous place. Now the third thing you could get to clean the fabric, it would be called dry cleaning fluid. I don't have a can of dry cleaning fluid to show to you, but you can use dry cleaning fluid also. Again, testing on an inconspicuous place. You're also going to want some form of rubber gloves. This type of rubber gloves will look pretty good with the pre-cleaner, and with the dry cleaning fluid won't last hardly at all with your lacquer thinner. Nitrile would last a little longer. This is a synthetic, it's not nitrile. But if you're going to be doing a large area, I'd get true chemical style gloves, which are chemical resistant. You can pick those up at like Harbor Freight or at a hardware store, or online, probably from Amazon or somebody else. Now there'll be some people that say, well, can't I just do it with water or a water-based chemical? Not to get the stuff off that you need to get off. You see, when I touch this, what comes off my hand? All of us have oil on our hands, our skin. It comes off on here. Unless this is removed, you're going to have troubles painting, because we're going to use a water-based painting system, and water and oil don't mix real well. So you're going to have to use a chemical solution, such as the three I suggested, 3 different products, to take it off, not just something that's water-based. All right, here you have the 3 items you're going to need when you're doing your cleaning with the lacquer thinner or the Prep All or the dry cleaning fluid. 1 old toothbrush. Sure, you can buy a new one, who cares, but an old one is what I'd use. Get yourself something about the size of a tomato paste can so that you can put your cleaning fluid in it. And you also want 1 or more shop rags. You can see I've used the shop rag, and this has been used on here to clean it. Now if you're using a shop rag, you're going to wet it and you're going to scrub hard with the shop rag. If you've got a little spot or an area like on the side or something, or down in between some grooves somewhere, or like in here, then the toothbrush works really good for that. And in each case, you're going to scrub it and you're going to get it all clean. And ultimately, these shop rags work really good for getting most of the rest of the residue of the chemical off. Now, the rest of it's going to have to evaporate in the air. So what am I going to tell you? I'm going to tell you that you should do this where you've got plenty of ventilation. That does not mean do it in the sun. Go out in the sun and do it. But certainly do it where you've got plenty of ventilation. If you're going to do it like in a garage, open the garage door and have a fan blowing so that you won't have to breathe all the fumes. And if the fumes are really bothering you, you can get some more PPE, because you could wear a face mask for painting if you had to, because you didn't like the fumes. But you truly have to get this stuff clean where there's nothing from your fingers. Each time I touch it, it means I'm going to have to go clean that spot again, except that I'm not going to paint here. We're going to be painting that edge, which has all been cleaned, and we're going to show you the process. We're actually going to paint it right in front of you and show you what happens. Here is the paint we're using. It's called FabriCoat. What is important about painting fabrics is you have to have a paint made for painting fabrics. Don't think, oh, I can just go buy some lacquer paint at the auto paint store and paint fabric. No, you can't. Or any other paint. You need a fabric paint. Why do I need a fabric paint? They are definitely different. They're highly flexible paints, somewhat also akin in a way to dyeing, except that they often will have like clay or it's more like of a rubber texture to them. And as a consequence, when they soak in here, they'll actually adhere to the fibers, and then you can make the fibers loose again by brushing them out when it's thoroughly dried. So here we've got black FabriCoat. That's what we're going to use over our brown. Now, it's important to think about, well, what if I wanted to make it lighter? That's generally pretty hard to do. You're generally going to have to go with a similar color or a darker color to make it work out. In this case, we're going to put black on here. And when we brush it out, you're going to find out it doesn't turn out as black as you think. It's going to turn out more of a dark brown. So we're going to use a little black and put it on here, and we'll show you how we do it. So we're doing a small area. I have myself a little lid. This came off of a brake can cleaner. And I saved these. They come on paint cans too. They're very good to save for doing something like this. Gives me a little holder for the paint. Got about a 1/2-inch brush. And that's because I'm working at a very small area. And you got to remember, you only want to touch the area that you want to color, because I've got 2 areas here, and there is no way you're going to get tape to stick to it, because for one thing, we had to wet it, and even if it wasn't wetted, the tape doesn't stick well to it. This is going to take some steady handwork for me to just do an edge. If I was doing the whole area, I'd get a big brush and a big holder for my paint, and I just brush the whole area. And of course, I would have wetted it all down, and I would have used a bigger sprayer. But we're just doing a little teeny area at a time. And so now we're going to come in here and we're going to put our paint on. And you want to be real steady, but you notice the paint soaks right in. That's because we use the water, which causes the paint to soak in, as well as the fact that the paint is designed to do this. It is not the same thing, as I was saying, as something like lacquer or automotive enamel or enamels you can buy in the hardware store. It's just not that. You really do have to have a fabric paint, so don't think you can cheat and use something else. This is what you have to have. Do you have to have that brand? No. There are other brands that you can get. This just happens to be the brand that I have here, and it's working fine. You notice I'm getting the brush in there and getting it done. Now, if I need to get it in a smaller area, I can use a smaller brush. And as I told you, if I need to get a larger area, I can use a larger brush. So you see, I painted that section. Now, the problem with doing something round like this edge, I'm really going to have to wait overnight for that section to dry, flip it over, and do the underside. It's extremely difficult to do it now without possibly getting my fingers in and putting the paint someplace where I don't want it to go. So right now, we're going to say, we'll leave that, and I'm going to show you how you treat it, because I've got some pre-done areas. Oh boy, it sounds like a cooking show. We're going to open up the oven and it's done, and we just put it in there 5 minutes ago. Well, we do have some pre-done areas where I'm going to show you how to finish it off so that it's soft again. Here we are on the opposite end of the cushion, one of the pre-done areas. And if you listen, it sounds a little scratchy. Well, that's because even with the water and stuff, it mats it a little bit. So you're going to take a clothes brush. That's what I've got here. Plain old clothes brush. And you're going to brush it. Now you can't just brush it this way. You see, I'm brushing it basically one direction. You really want to do it like this, in circles. The reason you want to do it in circles is that is going to cause the little hairs to come back up and everything gets soft again. So circles are the way you really want to do. Yeah, you can do it one direction for a while, but you'll never get it all right unless you go with the circles. And you see it went from a darker color, and we took off some of the darkness, didn't we? But we are so much better than our blotchy version that we have right next door. Yeah, I'll have to wipe that off before I paint it. But there's the blotchy version, and here we have got a version that is darkened up, that looks nicer. And if we don't think it's dark enough, we could do it again. But personally, I think it's an infinite improvement. And I could go down this whole side, and you can see it does change when I give it its brushing, because that restores the fibers so that they are movable and soft again, but also gives you your real color that you're going to have instead of it being sort of matted down a little bit. And you get it, and you can go along and do it like that, and you've got it all done. So one clothes brush fixes it, and you finish up your painting job, and you don't end up with matted material. Most any paint you can buy, other than a true fabric paint, is going to screw this up so bad. So you want true fabric paint. It's as easy as I showed you. It's mostly get the stuff clean, get it wet down, use the fabric paint, wait 24 hours, come back and brush it out. It's done. That's how easy it is to change the color of a fabric. Always remembering that you basically have to go a similar shade or darker, because trying to make it lighter, you're going to have a real hard time hiding something like this. Give it a try instead of throwing the piece out or having to start over. And like and subscribe. We'll see you later.